This afternoon's graduation address will be given by Mr. Tim Bennett. Tim is Chief Executive Officer of NZX Limited, a role he has held since May 2012. Tim has over 20 years of financial services consulting experience, advising financial services organisations in Australia, Asia, the Middle East and North America. Prior to his role at NZX, Tim was a partner in Oliver Wyman's retail and business banking practice, providing advice across a wide range of areas, including strategy and organisational transformation, as well as mergers and acquisitions. Tim graduated from Victoria University as a Bachelor of Commerce in Computer Science and as a Bachelor of Business Administration in 1987. He also holds a Masters of Business Administration in Strategy and Finance from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. It is with pleasure that I now invite Tim Bennett to give the graduation address.
Good afternoon, Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, members of the academic and staff of Victoria University, proud friends and family, and especially to all of those who are graduating here today. Congratulations. You've come a long way, and as I'd say in the United States, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. It's particularly pleasing that I was asked to speak today because actually I never made my graduation ceremony at Victoria, so it's a bit of a first for both of us. When I got the invitation via email one Friday afternoon, actually I thought bugger. In fact, I thought something a bit stronger than that, but I'd rather get my speech over before they kick me out. What I was concerned about, it was a request for money. Which I often get in my role, but fortunately, actually, and you're pleased to know for those of you graduating, actually only Auckland University takes that up on a regular basis. When I read through the invitation, I was a bit concerned because they asked me to speak for a short time, which was fine, but also to be inspirational and funny. And to be perfectly honest, I'm neither of those. But I have had somewhat of a varied career to get where I am today. I would have done a few things differently, and I thought it would be useful to share some of those things I would have done differently had I had the chance. The first thing is manage your network. Firstly, look around at the people that are here today, your friends, people you're graduating with, some of whom you may never have met. I know they'll be your friends on Facebook, or they'll be your contacts on LinkedIn. But to be perfectly honest, those tools are just the Rolodexes of this century. What you really need to think about is how you're going to manage and keep in touch with those people going forward. When I first took this role, I was interviewed by Rod Jury, the CEO of Xero. And the first thing he said to me is, I remember that party at Victoria University. And I'm thinking, I can't even remember Rod from Victoria University, let alone the party he's referring to, or indeed what I got up to that night. Needless to say, the interview didn't go off to a very good start, but obviously I said something right because I'm here today. When I was at Vic, I also spent quite a lot of time studying hard in the Western Park Tavern on Friday afternoons. There was a smaller range than there is today of amber liquid, but needless to say, we tried our best to try everything, particularly by the 11 o'clock closing. And often you'd run into a gentleman called Steve or a gentleman called Al. And it now turns out that's Steve Logan and Al Brown, who were then the managers of the Western Park, which is rather handy if you need to get a reservation at Depot. Although I have to say, my consumption level has gone down, but the cost remains the same. So look around you, manage that network. The second thing is you need to take some risks. I was speaking at Dilworth College about this time last year, and one of the students, and I have to say they're a very impressive bunch, said to me, what does it take, or how do you become a CEO? And I gave the usual answer, which is it's a bit about the experience, a bit about the capabilities you have, a bit about leadership, and to be perfectly honest, it's a bit of a stroke of luck. And when I got in the car on the way back to the city, I thought, actually, that was the wrong answer. What really got me to where I am today is taking a bit of risk. When I graduated from Victoria, I worked a couple of years here and then decided that I should do an MBA. So I left what was a really great job. I sold a house that I'd bought. I left my girlfriend, my wife, behind and went off to a school in another part of the world where I've never been, and to be perfectly honest, no one knew much about in New Zealand. As my wife said after I graduated, all I brought to the marriage at that point was a hell of a lot of debt. You realise that MBA is not a very cash flow positive experience, at least in the short to medium term. When I was consulting in South Africa in 1997, I got a call late one night from a German guy that I'd never met about an assignment in Kuala Lumpur, which is a place I'd never been. In fact, actually I had to look up in the map where that was. And he said it'll be easy. Spend 3 weeks doing a due diligence and then you can go home for Christmas. And I thought, kind of, why not? 14 years later, we left Asia after spending 6 years in Malaysia and about 8 years in Singapore. I had a range of experiences there, obviously professionally, and personally we're a lot richer of a family as a result of that. So be prepared to take some risk. It won't always be easy. It will go counter to the recommendations or the advice of your friends and family, but believe me, it's worth it. Which brings me on to my third point, and that's Asia. Our futures are inextricably linked with Asia. That's my future and your futures. And it's time that actually you did something about it. I never did my OE, I never went to London, but it continues to amaze me the number of people, both people who work for me and those of their friends, who want to go to London for a couple of years. In a city which is quite frankly where the weather is dull, only matched by the dullness of the English people themselves. So please, think about Hong Kong or Singapore, or for the very adventurous, Shanghai or Jakarta. It may not be easy to get there, you may not make as much money, but believe me, you'll have a hell of an experience. Some of which you'd rather forget, but believe me, it'll be life-changing. And finally, you'll need to define your own measures of success. We have a 20-year-old daughter, and I'm reminded every day that in her vernacular, long-term means either next week or next month, certainly not 3 or 5 years down the track. I went to a speech a couple of months ago by a headhunter, and trust me, I put headhunters in the same category as used car salesmen, which is they are a necessary evil from time to time. But actually, this guy was quite good. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said, because it really resonated with me. So in my generation, by the time we were in our early 30s, particularly those who graduated from Victoria or other universities, we were either married or thinking about getting married. Some of us had kids, we bought a house, and most importantly, we were working for large hierarchical organisations that had established us firmly in a career trajectory for the rest of our lives. Your generation is different from that, and that's a good thing, by the way. But by the time most of you get to your mid-30s, you will have had 5 or 6 jobs. Ideally, you will have worked in 3 or 4 different countries, and of course in Asia, but you won't have any kids. You may be in a relationship. If you're living in Auckland, you certainly won't own a house. And you may think that while you've had a great life experience, you actually haven't got very far in life. So my advice to you is to sit down and think about what defines success for you. In 1993, some friends of ours, a group of couples, got together before we had children, probably out late one night, I think, and wrote down on a piece of paper where we'd want to be by the year 2000. Of course, we all got it wrong, and we ended up in different roles and in different places than where we wanted to be. But that whole process enabled us to define what we mean by success. And that wasn't necessarily a successful consultant or a CEO. In fact, one of those couples ended up in Cape Town in a commune working with the Cape Coloureds, because that's what they define success to be. So I'd encourage you to think about what defines success for you, in the 5 or 10 year time frame and to revisit that so that when you come to your mid-30s, you don't feel like you haven't contributed to the rest of your lives. Finally, when I was growing up, there was a comedian, John Clark, who wrote a number of very memorable tunes in New Zealand. And one of those is, "We don't know how lucky we are." This could not be more true in New Zealand today, or for you in this room. We live in a great country. After living many, many years in developing parts of Asia, we live in a terrific country with a fantastic group of people, and people that are always willing to support you wherever you are. And of course, I and you are biased in this, but you've had one of the greatest educational experiences you can get anywhere in the world. So just remember that when life doesn't always go your way. Define your own success, and you will get there in the end. So just remember those 4 things. Manage the network, take some risks, think about Asia, and finally work out what success means. And in the words of Fred Dagg, Barry Crump, and a number of other less famous New Zealanders, you'll be right. Thank you.